Next slide, please.
Yeah. Hey guys. Thank you for having me. My name is Jiajing Dai, and you can call me JJ. I'm a former Duke student in Master of Engineering Management program. And a little bit about my prior experience. I had product management internships at iHealth Labs in the United States and Tencent and Sohu.com back in China. And I was also a product manager at a startup called Line Chapter, which is the major competitor with BitTiger in China. And I was also a digital marketing intern at Tesla China. And in my undergrad, I founded my startup and we built two products. The first one is Google.com, and the second one is Skywatch. And Xuanyi told me to share a little bit about a fun fact about me. And if you click the screen, yeah, I am a big fan of Criminal Minds. For you guys who do not know what is Criminal Minds, it is a 15-season crime TV show. It's currently available on Netflix, and I really like this TV show because it just catch the criminals by the psychology study. Yeah. So yeah, that is another topic. So today, for our agenda, I will touch on three topics. Next page. The first one is my entrepreneurial experience back in my undergrad. And the second is my time at Duke. And the third one, which is the major part I want to share with you guys, is my product manager job search in the United States. And we leave a little bit time for Q&A. Yeah, the first time that I've been a product manager was actually the time that I founded my own startup in sophomore year. The reason why we found that startup and formed this team was because we want to participate in a competition called Financial Innovation Application Competition held by Citigroup in 2016. And the first product that we built was Google.com, which is a website to assess the value of virtual items. So for example, if you have a game equipment and you want to trade your equipment inside the game or a third platform, you are not sure about which price you want to put on, or you, as a buyer, you do not know whether the price is too high or too low, you can check on our website and see what is the valuation of the game equipment. So basically what we've done was to gather the transaction information from third platform and also inside the games and do a little bit evaluation of the game, value of the game equipment and show it to the gamers. And eventually we won the national champion of that competition and also the best technology award. The reason why we won best technology award was because in 2016, OCR technology was not that mature in Chinese. For those who do not know what OCR is optical character recognition technology, which means that you actually abstract the characters from image. And it was pretty mature in English and in other languages, but it was not okay in Chinese. So in 2016, our product actually reached the most accurate and the fastest OCR technology in China. But there was a weird thing happened. So after the competition, this was actually a competition to connect the investors with the startup founders. But there were no investors reaching out to us for investments. There was one investor reach out to us for a potential partnership, which means that he probably value our team better than our product itself. So I started to wonder if there is something wrong with our product positioning or if it is really valuable in the business world. And also I start to think whether we could leverage our existing technology to do something else and do something more valuable. So 2016 is also a time for a lot of live streaming platforms to bloom in the Chinese market. And there was a problem for those companies, which is there are a lot of illegal content in their videos. So what the companies do, actually they have two solutions. The first one is to hire a lot of what they call supervisors to switch from one channel to another and identify the illegal contents manually. And the second approach is actually to leverage the users themselves to report the content. And we just start to think, right, OCR is in the computer vision area, and can we do it automatically, just use an algorithm? So we just tried and eventually it works. And there was a company, which is also a major short video company in China, use our product to identify illegal content for more than 30 million videos per day from 2018 to 2019. So it turned out pretty well, but I want to learn product management in big corporations. I want to know what is the daily responsibilities for product managers. So that's why I had my internships at Sohu.com, which is a very traditional tech company in China, very much like Yahoo in America, and also tried as a product manager at Night Chapter, which is the major competitor for Big Tiger. But then I started to become confused because product managers' responsibilities are very different from startups to big corporations. And also it's very different with what I felt in my startups, right? When I was working for my startup, I was kind of like the product manager, the product designer, HR, marketer, right? Whenever there was a problem out there, you need to go and solve the problem. But if it was not like this in big corporations and even in the early stage startups, so I started to question whether product management is really something that I want to pursue in my life. So that's why I came to Duke. Next slide, please. And at Duke University, the program that I attend was engineering management. And we actually have 3 tracks in the program. There was consulting, product management, and data analytics. And there are a lot of courses about business. So I took a lot of courses on competitive strategies, marketing, finance, and I started to wonder whether I want to pursue some other positions in the business world or I still want to be a product manager. So I take 1 semester gap. Next slide, please. Because at that time I received an offer from Tesla China to work as a digital marketing intern at Tesla. So I just thought, why not? Let's take a shot and try some other business roles. And Tesla is a cool company. So I just joined Tesla and worked there for 6 months. And those 6 months was a life-changing experience for me because I got a lot of exposure. I got a lot of responsibilities. The responsibility that I got, give you a little bit background about being a digital marketing intern at Tesla. There are only 3 people in digital marketing team, including me. And everyone need to develop partnership themselves, need to design marketing campaign themselves. And the value of each one of us was actually probably the 2 most popular Tesla stores in China. So that is the value that we create for Tesla China. But after the 6 months, I kind of reflect myself and reflect the 20 years that I have. And I think the happiest time and the time that I feel most accomplishing was the time that I founded my startup. So I went back to product management and started my product manager internship at Tencent AI Lab. Yeah, next slide, please. And last year in January, I came back to the United States and started my job search in product management. Next slide. Actually, before this event, I did a little bit research about your community and I just got to know that most of you guys probably do not have any working experience. So if you want to target product manager roles in the United States, you probably have the similar target with me, which is the APM programs of the big companies. So last year, I applied for 8 companies. They are Facebook, Salesforce, Google, Microsoft, Uber, Lyft, Palo Alto Networks, Apple. And there are other companies have APM programs. But still, APM program is very competitive because every year there might be like 10 to 20,000 students who want to target product manager roles, but there are only like 300 and 400 open positions in the tech giants. So I will share what I did and how I prepared for my job search last year. The first thing that you need to do is to create a spreadsheet with all your target APM programs on the spreadsheet and the start date of these programs last year and your connections who could refer you to the program. So the reason why you need to have the start date was because the program was very competitive. So you need to apply for the programs on the first day that they start. And so you need to be prepared for it. And you also need to list down all the connections that you have that could refer you to the program. So for all those APM programs, most of them are rotational programs, which means that probably if you reach out to maybe senior product managers or product directors or VP of product who can refer you, that will be very powerful. And that was exactly what I did. And the second thing that you need to prepare for was 3 books that you need to read. The first one is the Code and Conquer, which tells you the framework that product managers use when in their daily job and how they design product, how they figure out the user pain points, things like that. And which is also the framework that you probably want to use when you are answering the product design question in your interview. And the second book is Cracking the PM Interview, which is a book to tell you a little bit background about product management role in the United States in those companies and what is the company cultures like for each company. So before August last year, I was generally just preparing for product design questions, execution questions, strategy questions by mock interviews. But later on, when I really interview in companies, I just find out that for each company, they have their own culture. And even for different interviewers, they have their own preferences. So Cracking the PM Interview is a really effective book to tell you a little bit about that. And the third book that I recommend is called The PM Interview Questions, which is a question bank with 167 questions. And you can use that book to do mock interviews. And the third thing that I prepared, which is something I just mentioned, is mock interview. This is very different between each candidate. So for example, some of us probably just do 6 to 10 mock interviews and they got an APM role from Google. But for me, in my case, I've done like 400 mock interviews. Not because I needed that many mock interviews, it's because I use mock interviews as a way of networking. And for a lot of companies that I apply for, they do not have their businesses in China. So I do not really know how their company operate their products, operate their businesses in different countries. So I did mock interview with people from India, with people from Europe, to have a taste about how the business operate. And there's one tip here I actually want to emphasize. The time you actually spend on preparing for your mock interviews and doing your mock interview is very equal to the time that you spend to do the reflection. So after each mock interview, you need to ask yourself, how could you improve yourself to make your answer more satisfying and better than the previous version? And the fourth thing that I want to talk about is the research about the companies. So there are 4 ways for me to do research. You probably have your own approach, but there are 4 resources that I use. The first one is the conferences from each company. So for example, for each company, they probably have conference to talk about their latest updates for their products, for their portfolio, their recent focus in their business. For example, Google have I/O conference and Facebook have F8 and Palo Alto Networks have Ignite conference. And the second channel I use is news. I normally read news from the information website and also Google News to know a little bit about what is going on in the internet industry and for a specific company. And the third channel that I use is podcasts. It is very effective from my perspective because I think it is a great way to start a conversation during the interview. So for example, when I interviewed Palo Alto Networks, I actually talk about an episode that I heard from their podcast channel. And the interviewer just say like, I do not even know that we have a podcast channel. So we just start our conversation based on the content that they have on their channel. So that is a pretty funny thing. And the last thing that I got was the connections from that specific company. So before I interview Facebook, before I interview Google, I reach out to a lot of people, a lot of my friends who work there and know a little bit about how is their culture like and what are they working on, things like that. And the last thing I want to talk about here is networking, which is probably the very major thing that a lot of people will tell you when you're doing job search. But what I want to say here is think outside of the box. So for example, for me, the major way for me to do networking is from my WeChat official account. Last year, I created a WeChat official account to connect people together, to connect people who are looking for product manager roles, who are looking for especially associate product manager roles in the United States together. And we probably could prepare for the interviews together. That was because in 2018, I was not prepared for a job search at all when I first came to the United States. But I did not have a and I did not have a proper resume to apply for the positions, but I still got through the resume round from Google APM program, and I got the first interview from Google. And at that time, I feel so helpless because there were no other people in our program or like in my connection preparing for the same thing. And I do not know how to prepare, and I feel so lonely at that time. So I do not want the others to feel the same. So that's why I created this community. And because there are a lot of students subscribing me, and there are probably other people who already have a job in the major companies in the US. And during the collaborations, we build a very personal relationships, and later on they help me and I help them. So I would say as students, you always feel like how you could request help from the others instead of thinking like how you could help the others, what is your value to those people, to those professionals. I think that is something that you probably want to figure out first before you do networking. And the last thing I want to talk about is resilience. Everybody is going to tell you that job search is hard, especially you want to find a product manager role in the United States. But resilience is really, really, really important. For me, I did not have that much resilience when I did job search, and I have the downside from my lack of resilience. For example, when I first interviewed, well, when I first got into the job hunting season, I had three companies in hand. They are Microsoft, Lyft, and Uber. And after 1 week, like it was the same week that I received two rejections from two of those three companies. And I just feel so lost and too lost for me to apply for Apple Siri program on time, because previously I told you guys that you need to apply for those programs on the first day. So I just did not apply for Apple Siri program on the first day. So I just lost the opportunity. But that was a negative outcome of my lack of resilience. And also the same thing happened after I got the rejection after my on-site interviews with Google and Lyft, because for Lyft, it was the question that they asked was a little bit unfair to a person who did not experience Lyft in a major city in the United States. But I just feel like I do not have luck, and it just made me feel so upset. And also, the reason why Google rejected me was because they do not have that many accounts in 2020. So which was the reason why I did not perform that well after these two rejections. So companies reject you because of a lot of reasons, and you need to keep your resilience during the job hunting season. Next slide. And the last thing I want to talk about here is the responsibilities that the typical product manager have in a company, and which is also the thing that the framework that Decode and Conquer will tell you. The first thing is business strategy. For a product manager, you need to have the ability to analyze business strategy, to do a little bit competitive analysis, to know how your product position yourself in the market. And the second thing, based on the business strategy that you already have, you probably want to develop a product strategy for your product or for a product portfolio. And the third thing is user segmentation. You probably want to segment your target users and find out your target user and know what are the demographics and what are the profiles of the users that you want to target. And then you probably want to conduct user interviews or do some testing to find out user pain points and analyze user requirements. And then you probably will design a product feature. Probably you will design MVP to test out the user requirements, to do a little bit of customer validation or you want to launch the MVP first to see if the product really works. Both of them belongs to product design. Here you need your creativity and your brainstorming capabilities to design the product. And then you probably want to track multiple data metrics to see whether your product works and to find out what is the direction that you need to go for in your next iteration. And then you probably need a little bit go-to-market strategy. Like based on the user profile that you target, how do you want to go to market for your product? And the last thing, the last thing will be the product roadmap. For software, it is the next 2 to 5 years, and for hardware, it's probably the next 10 years. So the reason why I want to mention responsibilities here is previously I talked about for each company, for companies in different industries, for different product lines, product managers probably have different responsibilities in their daily job. But these are the things here, right? For entry-level product manager, and for different companies, they probably have different emphasis for different phases, but these are the things here. So if you want to find a product manager role in the United States or in any other companies, you need to find out what are the abilities, what are the skill sets that are required in each phase and improve your skills. Next slide. Yeah, and that is the end of the lecture. And if you want to connect me on LinkedIn, YouTube, or WeChat, Bilibili, here's our account, and I'm pretty open if you guys connect me on Facebook, Instagram, or give me any feedback about the videos that I post.